Hey everyone, Bane here. This past month there was a lot that happened. Kendrick's halftime show at the Super Bowl, Valentine's Day, which I made some super epic and cool cards for, and Abraham Lincoln's birthday, I guess. But none of that matters because the most important thing released was the new Humble Choice Bundle, February 2025. If you aren't into this type of content, you can expect a regular gaming video in 2 weeks. But if you are sticking around, thank you, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of my review or this month's bundle if you'd like. And be sure to check out the timestamps in the description for any specific titles. If any of these games pique your interest, the link will be down below. Alright gamers, stay tuned for my final thoughts in the end, and let's get on to the video. Starting off with this month we have Fabledom, a classic city builder set in a cute fantasy fairy tale world. Immediately you're put to work with the game settings, choosing your difficulty, game mode, and realm. This is something I wanted to mention specifically because it seems that they have a creative/sandbox mode where you can just decorate, and I just really like that. I wish more games did that. There the game showcases its inclusivity by allowing the player to choose their gender and what their preferences are between prince, princess, and highness. I'm not actually sure how inclusive this game gets, but according to the game's achievements, it looks like it has romanceable options for both genders. Quickly following this, you make a coat of arms for your nation, where I made mine a cute froggy. The game isn't anything groundbreaking with classic objectives like collecting coins or building certain buildings. In winter your crops don't grow, and the game has a very seemingly slow uptick process as you are originally given 1 to 2 builders and you must build more to get more builders. This is surprisingly one thing the very thorough tutorial didn't really go over, and thankfully was something I figured out on my own relatively early on. Griftlands is a deck building roguelite where your main components of the game are negotiations and combat. The decisions you choose to make in this game are very important, as many of them can come back to either hinder your future progress or serve you well on your expedition for revenge. Your bounty hunter Sal, who earned your freedom and came back for revenge in your home Aveum against an old enemy Cascio. Along the way your friend a barkeep helps you begin your journey by offering you some jobs. This will be a majority of the story along your way, as in these jobs you can meet friends or foes. Characters can change their dispositions on you depending on your actions, which can affect your future and how other characters will view you based on your prior choices. In combat you can choose to run away, execute enemies, or accept surrender, all 3 of which have their own consequences as well. While in an argument combat you can lose your resolve points. This is important because resolve sticks with you the rest of the game. If you have no resolve left, you automatically lose any negotiations you attempt. However, if you're in a physical combat and you win, you can actually manage to gain lost resolve points. The tutorial doesn't tell you this is just something I found out along the way. Going to sleep also brings your health and resolve points back up, starting you off fresh for the new day. The headliner this month is a little interesting compared to the others. It's the only game given to us not on Steam, but rather EA. So after begrudgingly reinstalling EA to play this game, I was at least happy to find it was not a complete waste of my time. The game is pretty good. It's a single-player magical FPS where you play as Jack, a young man living in the throes of poverty in an impoverished town. The prologue is rather long, but it gives you the need-to-know on Jack, who he is and how he gets to where he is, trying to become an elite mage to fight in the Everwar. As I don't want to spoil his story, just know it's rather cliche, the main character losing everything so he can become the world's savior. After the prologue, you're finally put into the tutorial, which is also so long. You're given 3 abilities to choose from at your will. Red for high damage up close, green lets you fire rapidly, and blue is just your standard weapon. You're also given some abilities, and you will unlock more the more you progress throughout the story. Admittedly, playing this game as much as I liked it and had fun was partly awful. Now that isn't the game's fault, and yet it is. Because it turns out this game needs the most insane stupid system requirements known to man. Like, why do you need a Ryzen 7 5700X and a 3080 Ti as the recommended systems? Not even the new Call of Duty needs that. The new GTA 6 probably won't even need that. So I was playing closer to the minimum specs, and it showed, as you might already be able to tell in my recording. And yes, I turned my graphics to even the lowest setting, and it was still insanely beautiful, which tells me that they really didn't want to compromise the look of the game for any reason. I totally get that. It is a beautiful game, and honestly the lag and stuff wasn't a game killer for me, but it is something I wanted you guys to know, so if you do have anything less than the minimum specs, you're probably cooked. I'm gonna pre-warn you guys, I won't have much to say about this one, and for one simply good reason. This is literally just a mobile game ported over to PC, and to me, that's a damn scam. This game is charging real money for what is quite literally just a free mobile game, a garbage one full of ads and microtransactions. And yes, I actually went ahead and played the mobile game for you guys to compare. What a great waste of my time that was. I was constantly hit with the ads and time-locked moments, completely different compared to the PC version. I suppose if you really like the repetitiveness of this watered-down dungeon crawler where you farm materials or resources over and over again, then it could be good. The only unique parts I found about my time playing this game was the combat, with predetermined enemies spawning on a set timer, and a fishing mechanic you unlock later in the game that was yet another grind for minimal payout. The only worthwhile thing about the mobile is it gave you a very minimal backstory on how we got to this island, which we didn't receive at all on PC. However, on PC we received a tutorial world you did not on mobile. I'm sure there are some people out there who are buying the DLC for this game because yes, of course there's DLC for this game, and eating it up, but truthfully this was just some repetitive garbage. The game is the same over and over and only scales in grindiness. I don't recommend anyone ever buy this game. Next up is Naheulbeuk's Dungeon Master, a satirical dungeon management styled game where the goal is to build, manage, and defend your dungeon. Here you plan out your own dungeon, keep your minions happy and subservient to you, as well as listen to the sanctioned dungeon government we seem to accidentally entangle ourselves in. For me, this game was probably one of the more fun ones, although I think for some it may be misleading. It's not so much place traps to defend from monsters and heroes, although that is in the game, but it's more about building a fully fleshed village of sorts. This dungeon has quickly become a business rather than tending to evil duties. Tip from the wise, please make your rooms bigger than you think you actually need them. For those of you unfamiliar with the franchise, Total War games are turn-based strategy games with real-time tactical battles. Their historical games have their own time periods they go off of, while the main line is more fantasy. But we aren't talking about Rome or Warhammer, we're talking about Pharaoh, specifically Pharaoh Dynasties. Here we're set in Egypt in the midst of the Bronze Age. This game expands on Pharaoh, giving us extra places on the map like Mesopotamia and Greece, as well as some associated factions. So I mentioned that this game expands on Pharaoh because Dynasties is technically a big free update to Pharaoh. In the original game it really centers on Egyptians and the Hittite Empire, while Dynasties really just expands on the game overall. That said, I do consider them to be two separate games for the most part, simply because they kind of are. They're entirely two different games on Steam, different downloads, storage amounts, different achievements, separate playtimes. They even have their own trading cards. So from my point of view, it's kind of like we got a free extra game this month. Upon playing the game, I jumped into the tutorial and oh my god, when I tell you guys I could not get past the first tutorial, it kept black screening and force halted my progress. It felt like I tried everything, and of course there was no quit to the main menu button, there was only quit to Windows. So I tried it again, and yep, same thing. The exact same part. That felt like too much of a coincidence for me, but it was too soon to give up on the game. So I skipped this battle and continued on in the campaign. Now the Total War series is a well-beloved franchise. Anyone can see that. However, it's your first time playing any of the games, it can be quite overwhelming. And guess what? It was my first time playing a Total War game. I never thought I'd be stumped over resources and what buildings to make. Tons of games feature that concept, and yet, every time I loaded into a battle, I had never wanted to press Alt F4 more. However, I don't think anyone needs to be a Total War fan to tell you that even an hour or two with one of these games isn't enough to tell you how it compares to others in the franchise. It's simply not. However, 1 to 2 hours is enough for me to determine whether I like the game or not. And I will be putting this game to rest. Our next game is an auto-battler roguelike, where the goal is to first create matching traits between your units, merge alike units to make stronger, beefier versions, and let the auto-battle duke it out between the AI. The game features a semi-plot with the goal to defeat enemies and win a tournament. Along the way you can buy items in shops you find along the way, gain items, gold, XP, and more. You're limited to the amount of characters you can have on a board as well as characters as you can have in your hand, so you must choose wisely how to converse the game. The board is seemingly confusing at first, just hexagons that may seem like they don't mean much considering movements roam wherever they wish once the battle commences, but upon further gameplay that could be not further from the truth. You want to place heavy-duty melee characters in front, ranged fighters in the back, basic knowledge of course, but this game features unique spells that allow certain hexes to gain a modifier allowing placed units there to earn special abilities. Of course this is something you must gain through leveling up and playing longer. With how many classes there are and how much is thrown at you, the game can be a bit of an uphill learning battle. At least it was for me. At the same time, once I was able to gain even a rudimentary grasp on this, it allowed me to enjoy the game further. With the matches being quick as well, it was an overall nice experience. Lastly, we have Trepang 2, or Trepang Squared. I couldn't find much about the first game as it was never officially released, but what I have found about the game is that they are not connected whatsoever. So, we'll carry on. You play as an escaped soldier with no memories of your past life. You learn more about what happened to you throughout the notes you collect as you try to break out of the facility. However, if you're someone who doesn't really care about those things, you won't really get much to work on. Basically, you're a science experiment titled Bright Star made by the Talon Company. Well, the Talon Company is dumb as hell, because you're a superhuman with superpowers to the others, like strength and turning invisible, and they decided that budget concerns were an entirely acceptable reason to cut funding towards keeping you under guard. Yeah, because I'm totally gonna take away security from the thing that could kill us all. but whatever, Mr. CEO, good luck with that dumb decision. And surprise, surprise, it bites him in the ass because we break out only to escape into the heads of another unknown opposition. And there is where I stopped, since that was pretty much the end of the tutorial and I had felt like I'd seen enough. The story is silly to me. It felt like they just threw some slop together to give a reason to make another boring single player FPS. The combat is boring and janky at times, and it was just non-stop bullet spray. I'm not saying I don't like an FPS, I do, but this campaign was lackluster and the gameplay was missing the mark expeditiously. I definitely won't be coming back to the game. Alright, before we jump into my final thoughts, please consider giving this video a like if you enjoyed it, as it really helps me out with the algorithm. I put at least an hour into each game, some more in others due to tutorial links or trying to get a proper feel for the game. I base my reviews on a few different things and only those things. My time of hands-on gameplay, if I enjoyed the time playing the game, and I try to decide the final placement where I think it's a good game or not despite my personal feelings. Although obviously, this is my review, it's gonna be a little biased no matter what. To me, this bundle was not super stellar. Honestly, I felt you could probably skip out on this bundle entirely if it weren't for the fact you could lose out on your membership rewards. On top of that, I have to say this month I was disappointed about Immortals being an EA key. Of course, even if it was a Steam key, we would still have to download the EA platform regardless, as you do any other EA game on Steam using EA Play. I know some gamers out there don't care about that sort of thing, but I do. I primarily use Steam as my main launcher, with Epic being my second. EA is sort of only for that occasional once-a-year sim scraping, not for everyday gameplay for me. All of that said, I will still utilize my different rankings, but do keep in mind that again, this bundle was not very spectacular to me. Starting off with my must-plays of the bundles, I'm including Immortals of Aveum, Griftlands, and Fabledom. I'm including these ones because to me they were absolutely the best of the bunch regarding the game itself and how much I enjoyed it. In Immortals, the puzzles weren't bad and I enjoyed the base gameplay and combat. Despite the minimum recommended specs, I was still able to play, albeit jankily, and had fun overall. Griftlands was fun, had beautiful art, and a unique spin on the genre. Unique enough that it made me play longer and had me rethinking my original thoughts on roguelikes. If there are any more out there like this one, I can't wait to play them. Fabledom was cute. I really gravitated towards this one because of that. I found the all-around inclusivity very welcoming, as the subtitles were nice and the random quips here and there were entertaining. In the should play recommendations, I put Naheulbeuk's Dungeon Master as well as Tales and Tactics. Enigma was fun, although I do believe the most fun I had with this one when I was actually able to share it with my friends. Tales and Tactics was enjoyable once I got the hang of things. I think for any new players coming in at it, it's worth trying to get past the initial learning curve. My could play recs include Trepang 2 and Pharaoh Dynasty. Trepang 2 is a less than stellar FPS and the story was quite bland, although if you're someone who only plays FPS games, this would be worth a try. Pharaoh Dynasties was quite beautiful during the cutscenes, but the rest of the game looked underwhelming in comparison. The gameplay itself wasn't spectacular either. This one also is going into my could plays due to the fact that if you're a lover of the genre, you'll more than likely be satisfied. And lastly, in my don't bother with section, I'm playing My Little Universe. This game is a straight up scam, even more so for people who are purchasing the game on its own. If this was a tier list video, I'm sure you could guess where this one would rank. And that wraps up my final thoughts on this month's bundle. It's not as though this was Humble's worst bundle ever. I imagine that Total War title made people very happy. I recognize I was probably not the type of person that would be the target audience for many of these games. Still, I was glad to try so many new games. Do you agree or disagree with any of my thoughts? Let me know what you think about the games or anything I had to say down below. I hope this game helped you decide whether to purchase this bundle or any of the games individually. This month's featured charity is the UNCF, a charity that helps provide college scholarships to HBCUs and works with them to transform their lives. Education is always important, and helping people who don't typically have those opportunities is great. In the charity's words, it's an investment on a brighter and more equitable future for all. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next month.